One evening, you're scrolling through headlines and notice an uncanny pattern. Analysts predicting a new cultural renaissance in Southeast Asia, a shift in global political ideologies, and a sudden surge of interest in retro technology among Gen Z. You wonder how they see such patterns forming. The answer, increasingly, is artificial intelligence, algorithms crunching global data to foresee emerging social trends, cultural shifts, and even political upheavals. This is AI in predicting societal trends, the rise of AI anthropologists, where machines become the new cultural observers, examining human behavior on a massive scale. If you find these possibilities as enthralling and perhaps unsettling as I do, please consider subscribing. Your support helps us keep exploring what happens when technological prowess meets human complexity. We're used to thinking of anthropologists as field workers, immersing themselves in communities, taking painstaking notes on rituals or daily routines. Now, imagine an AI that sifts through billions of social media posts, economic indicators, demographic statistics, and even weather patterns to identify links no single human could. In essence, these AI anthropologists are seeking to understand how societies evolve, how ideologies spread, and how cultural norms shift. They might notice, for example, that a sudden spike in memes about minimalism correlates with a growing economic anxiety in certain urban centers, or that an increase in rural smartphone usage coincides with a resurgent interest in local traditions adapted to online forums. By connecting these dots, the AI proposes a plausible future trajectory. Perhaps that minimalism will morph into a more radical, off-grid movement, or that certain rural traditions might become the next big cultural export. One catalyst for all this is the explosion of global data. Social media has turned daily life into an endless stream of information. Posts, check-ins, tweets, and pictures all geotagged and time-stamped. Economic data is more openly shared than ever, and many governments publish public records on demographics, health statistics, and beyond. Even satellite data about urban sprawl or deforestation patterns can factor into cultural predictions, revealing how communities respond to environmental changes. AI excels at correlating these varied datasets, recognizing patterns that might look chaotic from a human standpoint. For example, it could link a rise in a city's average temperature with an uptick in local protests about public resources, or note how an influx of foreign students changes the fashion sense in certain neighborhoods. One immediate application of these insights is in policymaking. If an AI system forecasts that rural communities are on the brink of significant urban migration due to job scarcity, local governments can plan job creation initiatives, infrastructure expansions, or housing projects in advance. Or if the AI detects a spike in extremist rhetoric among specific online subcultures, authorities might choose to counteract that narrative early, introducing community engagement programs or online counter-campaigns. The idea is that by spotting emergent social phenomena months or even years before they become mainstream, leaders have a chance to respond with measures that encourage stability, innovation, or cultural preservation, depending on the situation. Yet, there's a deeper question. Can machines truly understand human behavior? Anthropologists spend years absorbing context, picking up on subtle cues, and establishing trust with communities to interpret their actions. An AI, no matter how advanced, deals in data points rather than lived experiences. It might interpret an uptick in certain hashtags as evidence of a cultural renaissance, missing the irony or sarcasm behind those posts. Or it might flag a lull in social media chatter about a hot issue, concluding that the public's interest has waned, when in fact people have moved to closed, private chats out of caution or fear. That's where the synergy of AI and human expertise becomes crucial. We might rely on AI for large-scale pattern detection, then dispatch human researchers or local communities to validate those findings and capture the nuance an algorithm can't see. But the allure of AI-driven societal predictions goes beyond academic curiosity. Businesses see it as a goldmine for marketing strategies. If a system predicts that an eco-conscious movement will soon sweep the youth market, companies might pivot their product lines or campaigns to match that trend before their competitors. Similarly, political campaigns could deploy such AI to identify shifting voter sentiments, guiding them to fine-tune messages or policies in ways that might better resonate, though some worry that crosses an ethical line, verging on manipulation. After all, if you can predict how a group will react, you can shape the narrative to ensure a specific outcome. There's also the potential for global collaboration. Imagine an AI that flags a brewing cultural clash between two regions over resource use, or anticipates how a natural disaster could fan the flames of social unrest in a border area. Armed with that knowledge, international organizations might step in early with peace-building activities or resource-sharing agreements, neutralizing tensions before they explode. In a more optimistic view, the AI might also identify convergent cultural trends, like shared tastes in music or fashion, across geopolitical divides, offering an avenue for cross-border cultural festivals that strengthen mutual respect. Still, such power raises serious ethical and privacy considerations. The data that AIs consume often includes personal information. Users might have unwittingly contributed to a dataset that's fueling predictions about their community's future behaviors. If a government or corporate entity wields that information, how do we safeguard individual rights and cultural autonomy? And if an AI predicts a negative trend for a certain region, like a future meltdown in trust of government, could that prophecy become self-fulfilling? People might assume it's inevitable, leading to a downward spiral. This phenomenon, sometimes referred to as predictive determinism, underscores how the act of foreseeing an event can influence outcomes. Then there's the risk of bias in the data itself. Historical records have often been skewed by colonial perspectives or incomplete accounts of marginalized groups. If those biases persist in digital form, the AI's models might perpetuate stereotypes or disregard the complexity of certain cultures. Similarly, low-income or rural communities might not use social media as much as urban elites, so the AI could overrepresent the latter's views. Anthropologists have always contended with the risk of misrepresenting a culture when data is incomplete. AI faces the same pitfall, only at a more massive scale. Some researchers propose open auditing of AI training data, ensuring local communities have a say in how they're represented, but that's easier said than done in a global context. The technical side of building AI anthropologists is also no small feat. Language barriers alone present a major challenge. Slang, dialects, coded language, these nuances shift constantly. While advanced natural language processing can handle multiple languages, it struggles with localized idioms or context-laden references that are second nature to a human anthropologist. Then there's the complexity of cross-referencing text data with images, geospatial data, and historical context. The AI might read local news headlines, track ephemeral stories on social platforms, and compare them with centuries-old references in community archives, all to spot whether a cultural revival is in the making. This integrated approach demands computing power, robust data pipelines, and sophisticated algorithms that can unify drastically different data types into coherent trends. Yet the potential for insight and positive change remains immense. If an AI consistently points to the vulnerability of coastal communities against rising sea levels, it can galvanize governments to implement protective measures. If it notices that youth in certain regions are reviving ancient crafts, that observation could drive new cultural preservation grants or tourism initiatives. Or if it warns of an impending shift toward political polarization in a part of the world, international bodies might preemptively support dialogue forums. The hope is that AI transforms from a passive observer to a force that helps shape more empathetic, evidence-based policy. If these ideas fascinate you, subscribing to channels that delve into future tech and cultural analysis is a great way to stay updated. The line between predicting and shaping societal trends will only blur further, and it's crucial we stay informed on the ethical and cultural ramifications. Because at its core, AI anthropologists represent a new lens on humanity. They aren't bound by the same vantage points or emotional attachments humans have, yet they also lack our deep empathy and context. The challenge is to fuse machine-driven scale with human wisdom, ensuring these large-scale predictions become a tool for betterment rather than a catalyst for misuse or misunderstanding. In the end, whether AI can truly understand human societies is still up for debate. Real understanding often demands empathy and lived experience, two things algorithms can't replicate. but they can process patterns that are invisible to the human eye, giving us a macro-level picture that surpasses any fieldworker's scope. The best outcomes likely arise from synergy. Anthropologists, sociologists, and local communities teaming up with data scientists and AI models, bridging the gap between raw computational insights and the nuanced spirit of human cultures. Thanks for joining this discussion about the rise of AI anthropologists. It's a field that marries technology with our most intrinsic qualities: culture, identity, societal evolution. If you found it enlightening, I encourage you to subscribe or follow further updates as we continue to unravel how AI intersects with the heart of human experience. After all, in a rapidly changing world, the ability to glimpse potential futures could help us steer toward ones that honor both our diversity and our common humanity.